Hey Wargamers, welcome back to the channel, Death from Above Wargaming. I'm Aaron, and I am here with another Battlytics review from the new Mercenaries Kickstarter. We are going to look at the Chameleon tonight, the CLN-7Z. So this is a 50-tonner, and it has a reputation as being a steaming pile of training mech. But it has some pretty interesting variants that are out there. This one, the 7Z, debuted in 3058 and has an interesting array of weapons. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but we're going to find out together. It has a battle value of 1527. It moves 696, which is very respectable for a 50-ton mech. It dissipates 22, so it's got 11 double heat sinks. It does have an XL engine. Everything else is standard. So, which I don't understand. Can I pontificate for a moment? So let's look at the weapons. It barely has any weapons. I mean, it's got jump jets, but like it definitely has the critical space. Like take endosteel and ferrofibers and ditch the stupid fusion engine, the XL one. Ugh, I hate XL engines. Well, anyway, so let's talk about the weapons while we're looking at them. It's got one ER large in the left arm, and it's got a pair of large lasers in the right arm. So this is a huge deviation from the standard Chameleon, which is like a smattering of large, medium, small lasers and a couple of machine guns. This is basically just three big beams. I'm not a huge fan of the standard large laser, but we'll see how this thing does. Now, back over to the armor side. 99.4%. So that caught my eye immediately. It's got 10.5 tons against standard armor, and this thing has very, very good armor coverage. It's like full on the arms and legs, just a sliver, smidgen off the torsos. So maybe that'll be worth it. No special equipment to speak of, no ammo on board, but it does have two hands, so it can punch, it can kick, in addition to firing those beam weapons. Although not at the same time, which is kind of lame. Like you can't punch and shoot. So I guess you can just shoot and kick. All right, let's dive in. Guys, Chameleon Battlytics. It's coming right up. All right, here we are, offensive benchmarks. So, first thing I noticed, this thing can build up a crap load of heat. Look at that thing spike up. So basically, as soon as the large lasers come into play, it can build up 7 points of heat of turn in the simulation. So that's 6 plus 1 for walking. So it can get to dangerous levels of heat pretty much in one trigger pull. And when I say, dangerous is really 8, where your gunnery penalty dips. 4 is okay. 5 stinks because you take that movement penalty. May not be as big of a deal for this mech because again it can jump as well. Which is another thing. If you jump and fire everything, tack another 6 points on, you're at basically 12 points of heat in that scenario, just in jumping and alpha striking. But let's talk about damage. So in the baseline, which again, keeping the heat 4 or less, it can it can generate, it can create, it can deal 101.8 points of damage. It's not like amazing for a 50-ton mech, but it's not bad either. It's pretty bad. Optimized, it can get up to 117.3, which is a little bit better. That's actually a jump in 15.3%. So what that tells me is like, this is not for the faint of heart. Like you need to know how to use this mech and squeeze it for everything. Otherwise, it's going to be mediocre. Now, if you lay on the trigger too much, again, your damage drops because we can see how quickly this thing can build up heat. So it drops to 48.2 points of damage. Lethality, not very scary to the Javelin. It took an average of 12.09 turns to kill it, and it only killed it 55.9% of the time out of those simulations in the 12-turn time limit. But damage per hit is very solid, 7.7. Critical hits is what you would expect for a mech with 3 weapons. So I want to just draw your attention back to the damage per hit. Again, 50-ton mech, medium lance, maybe the big guy in a light lance. It's great to pair with things that shoot a lot of weapons, that have a lot of missiles, that have a lot of SRMs, Kintaros even, right? Things along those lines that really have high critical, potential. This thing is the thing that can blow the holes in a medium or light mech, and then something else can find those crits. So something to think about, keep in the back of your mind as we move forward. But let's talk about defense, shall we? All right. So, defensively, I was impressed by the armor diagnostic when we looked at it in the sort of the technical overview. I'm impressed with it here. The armor coverage is basically approaching 100% at every location, except for the rear is weirdly over armored. So just for context, the rear across all three sections has 25 points, 25 pips. That's a significant amount of armor. I don't know why it has that much. Meanwhile, the CT only has 22 pips, and the left torso, right torso have 16 pips of armor. So I feel like you could take that rear down like a couple, like probably 6 or 7 pips, and redistribute that to the front, and I think you would do better there. But maybe the assumption is, hey, you're getting in, you're 6'9" speed, you're jumping 6, like you're going to get shot in the back, which I guess I can get behind that. Again, we're nickel and diamond pips here, so I'm not too upset about the armor diagnostic. From a mobility side, very solid. 1.6% of the time, it does take a motive critical hit. Those legs are packed out with 2 jump jets each. Leg armor is pretty significant, actually. 24 pips on the legs. This is the weird thing I always forget about BattleTech, right? Is your legs, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do, so your armor, the maximum amount of armor you can fit on a location is determined by the amount of structure you have. It's 2 times your structure. Legs have the same amount of internal structure as a side torso. So left torso and left leg, or any leg and any side torso, they all have the same amount. In the case of the Chameleon, a 50-ton mech, it's 12. But the torsos have to split their armor between front and rear. The legs obviously have one location. So legs are always like mechs never skip leg day. Like, this guy's got 24 pips. He has more pips on each leg than he does on his center torso. That's weird. So forget rear armor distribution. We need to pull those legs down to like 20 and redistribute those 8 points somewhere else, in my opinion. But motive hits are still pretty good, and that's probably why motive hits are pretty solid. Like, that's low. 1.6 is low. Over 12 turns, though, it does see a degradation in its motive from 3 to 2.3. Average target mod 2.89 over the 10,000 simulations. But that's nothing that concerns me. I mean, bad things happen. It's a 50-ton mech, and in the simulation, the test mule's an awesome, so it's taking a significant amount of fire. Survivability was lower than I had expected, 66%. And I just want to call your attention to the XL engine, which are like the sort of the hollow pink bars on that bar chart. Engine deaths account for 25% of the deaths. CT and head account for the other 9%. So when I look at I got the critical diagram up over here. There is literally, so the two roll again slots in the CT aren't filled, and the side torsos, both left and right, are symmetrical. It's 3 engine and 1 jump jet. You get into that side torso, you're pretty much guaranteed, to kill it. You blow off a side torso, obviously, it's dead. And again, like, we have 24 pips on the leg and only 16 pips on the front left torso. I don't get it. I don't love it. It's just such a simple fix, and wouldn't even change the battle value because the total armor is the same. I don't know. I feel like that was a miss on the design side. But will it be enough to affect the efficiency negatively? Let's see what the survey says. All right. So again, 66% survivability, efficiency of 4.69. Now, that is a combination of in my opinion, abysmal damage for 1,527 battle value, mediocre survivability. So you're going to get that fairly low efficiency rating. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting here. Too large and an ER large. It can barely manage its heat load. I mean, I wanted to see. Sorry. Maybe the other one, like the basic one with all the medium lasers and small lasers would have done better. Maybe we'll look another day. But I was hopeful that this one maybe had enough firepower to kind of get it up over that threshold. I was hoping to get it at least in the sixes, but it didn't happen, guys. Sometimes your heart is broken. So damage loss, 14.6%. So basically, you can see the purple graph, the blue graph. The blue is our optimized damage. The purple factors in the survivability. So again, you can see like once you get to like turn 8, this thing like really, really dips off, and that's where the damage pulls away. And the way the damage curve works is it gets like, you can see when it gets into that 5 hex range where the damage jumps up, that's where it's dying the most, unfortunately. Gunnery sensitivity on this is very low, 0.366. So, you know, are you going to get advances or are you going to notice advances in gunnery? Not a ton. I mean, the difference, again, the baseline damage is like so low in the hundreds. It's just like it's not really moving the needle for the battle value that you're paying. So, for example, a gunnery 4, 1527 battle value, it's 56.66 damage. Where we tested this thing at 100.18 damage, it's 2,138. Does this feel like a 2,000 point battle mech to you? It doesn't. And that's reflected in, unfortunately, that mediocre efficiency score. But it's a mech. Where would we play it on the table? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So there's a couple things I guess I have in mind for this mech. The first one is a cavalry mech. It still has like that potential to be good, like if you have a hot-handed dice or if it's the big guy in a little lance. It can keep up with your wasps and your stingers and all of these things that 696, right? It can keep up with assassins and all of these other goofy things. And it's got 3 large lasers on it. I mean, that's not, it's not nothing to scoff at. Yeah, it has trouble firing them all, but it can still alpha strike a few times, and it can deal, it can lay out some hurt. Like it does a peak alpha of 24 points of damage. So it's nothing to write home about, but it's also for something like a locust, that's death. That is life and death. That is a big number for a small mech. So, maybe it's a bug hunter. I don't know. Do chameleons eat bugs? Is there an analogy here? Is there something I'm missing? It's very, very possible. So cavalry is the first one. Second line mech is the second one. So if it's not the big guy eating bugs, maybe it's the little guy that's hiding in the back taking pot shots, which sort of ties into the skirmisher role that I picked. Whether you stay on the flank, and you're kind of keeping at that 15-inch range, and you're hoping to just kind of land those lucky shots or wear mechs down. Maybe even draw some fire, because again, 66% is not great, but it's also not paper fragile. So it could take a couple of hits, and with the jump modifier and the running modifier, like it can do pretty good at longer ranges, staying alive. So I think that skirmisher role, if it's the small mech in the lance, or even if it's on par with some of its peers, like even a Centurion or a Wolverine, like I would use this thing in that sort of skirmisher type of role. If it's the big dog and like a lighter lance, definitely cavalry role. I think this thing, could wreck some shop on some lighter mechs. That's all I got. That's all I got for the Chameleon. I don't know. Tell me what you think. What did I miss here? What variant of the Chameleon is better, or do they all stink? Tell me what you think about the armor distribution as well. Really weird with the really beefy legs and then the weaker side torsos. I don't know how I feel about that, but again, and also the XL engine. Dump it. Dump the engine. I would even strip a ton of armor, dump the XL, give it ferrofiber Synendo steel. That's how I would have done it. But then again, guys, as I like to say, I am not a mech engineer. I'm just a guy who reviews them. So that said, I'm all wrapped up. a couple of things. Number one, Aries Games and Minis. Don't forget to check out Aries Games and Minis for all your BattleTech needs. The minis, the dice, the books, the novels, battle maps. It's got terrain, decals, paints, brushes, all the things. Everything you need to fuel your BattleTech hobby. It's right there, online, shipped to your door, fast shipping, great service. You will not have a problem with Derek over at Aries Games and Minis. Fantastic customer service. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like. As I said, I hope you really enjoyed this review. It was useful for me to kind of understand the Chameleon. Maybe I'm going to dig a little deeper for some other variants. Hopefully, it was useful for you too. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about that. And if you want to help out the channel more, head on over to Patreon. It's as little as $1 a month. We do a $5, $10 tiers, different tiers. Unlock different little perks. Allow you to vote in the direction of the channel. Maybe get some sneak peeks here and there. So really cool stuff over on Patreon. But that's all I got. That's all I got for this one. So again, let me know what you think on the Chameleon. I'm looking forward to the discussion on this one. But that said, guys, stay tuned. As you know, always great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a great night.